All right. Well, we can go ahead and get started now. We do these workshops every week. And I just want to share a couple things with you. First, please feel free to share. Whether you type in the chat like you did, letting us know where you're joining us from. You can also, feel free to raise your hand on the Zoom, raise hand controls, or just raise your actual hand. Come off mute and, feel free to share. Always love having people share. As I said, I'll go over what we're going to cover today, but we have 4 separate sections, and in between those, there are opportunities to share. So, when you do so, feel free to just put things in the chat, or come on, be on video and unmute and share. Now, real quick, before we really get going, there are a couple things we're going to do. First, I'm going to ask you a question, which you can just put the answer in the chat. You may want to journal it down and then type it in. And that's what is one habit that you wish you could stick to that would change your life? What's one habit you wish you could stick to that would change your life? I'll give you, 30 seconds, or so, a minute. Just think about that, ponder that. Don't feel like we have any urgency here. We've got, this time allocated to be here together. Just what's one habit you wish you could stick to that would change your life? And I'll be sharing, mine as well. Working on my novel daily so I can get the book finished, and restarting my physical therapy on my knee so I can recover properly from the knee surgery I had. That's tough. My wife just had, you'll hear me talk later, ruptured her Achilles and had Achilles surgery. So, I get you on the surgery recovery. It takes a long time. And writing your book, you'll hear me talk about later. I wrote my book in 6 months. That's going to be published soon. By that habit of writing daily. Every day from like 5:30 to 7 in the morning. So we will be covering some of the habits and directly that specific one. Also happy to help you with some of those writing tools or resources as well, since I just have gone through that process and now working on my second book. Consistent positive thoughts. Yeah, that is a tough one in those. There's a great book called by Gary Coddy. Gosh, what's the name of that book? It'll come to me, but he calls it ants, or annoying negative thoughts. Those negative thoughts that constantly crawl through our brains like ants and pop up. Shelley, I know it's tough, but you can retrain your brain for positive thought, and some of the tools here today will help that. So we'll definitely be covering some things that relate to that. And stop procrastinating. Zoom user. I don't know if you want to share name, type name in there or whatever. But yeah, I mean, we're going to talk about overcoming procrastination today, by setting goals and habits that allow us to overcome procrastination by having a clear system for handling those things we need to handle that keep us from procrastinating, but also eliminating distractions. Yeah, Chad, a nightly routine rather than screen time. We will definitely be talking about some about nightly routine. We touch on it today, but if you haven't checked it out, we also have a great resource which we will send to you with the recording from today's session, which is the Epic Daily Ritual, which has both evening and morning and evening routines that really help you start your day and close your day really strong. And those are great habits to implement that, have been incredibly transformative for me. And so we're going to share those as well. All right. So thank you everyone for sharing. I really appreciate it. These always go well. Um, Yeah, thank you, Shashi. Appreciate that. Yeah, I think we just put the link there. If you click on the True Self system, that will have the Epic Daily Routine in there. So the Epic Daily Ritual. So you can look at that afterwards. By all means, print that out, use it, take it with you, and work on your Epic morning and evening routines. So we're about to get going, but before we do that, now that we've sort of shared what we want to work on. Oh, and I didn't fully include, I put in there mine as well, which is, exercise or yoga every day. You'll see me share later. I have this, habitually inspired habit tracker that we're going to share with you to track your habits. The one thing I was finding that I wasn't getting to regularly was uh, exercise or yoga daily. This week, I'm actually doing really well. So far today's Thursday. I did not go Monday, but Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I've been to yoga every day and feeling good. So I got to keep that streak going this week. That definitely is changing my life to getting to exercise or yoga daily. Um, Now, we just want to take a minute to be fully present here. I know, we're on our computers or phones right now, but we also want to be fully present here. So typically we start these weekly workshops with a grounding exercise. And that is just, we take about a minute or so just to breathe, to be fully present here so that we are ready to focus and not distracted by all the thoughts or the negative thoughts that are coming in or um, thinking about what we got to do later and what we're going to cook for dinner and picking the kids up or the work you got to do. We just want to be fully present here now. So take just a moment and if you can with me, close your eyes or just bring your gaze down low if closing your eyes isn't comfortable. And just feel your normal breath for a few seconds. Just breathe in and out through your nose, maybe feeling the air going in through your nostrils, or even feeling the air just at that little space between the tip of your nose and the top of your lip. Just feel the air coming in and going out. Just focus on your breath. You may even want to focus on the air in your lungs, or even just the feeling of your diaphragm raising and lowering. So take just a few moments to just breathe. May even want to say to yourself in, out, or inhale, exhale. Just breathe. Don't get stuck on any thoughts. If thoughts come in, just let them pass like clouds passing through the sky. Just focus on the breath. Breathe in, breathe out. An inhale followed by an exhale. Now, if you can with me, take just a moment, take a deep breath in. Continue with your eyes closed if you can, or your gaze down low if that's more comfortable. Take a deep breath in through your mouth. In through your nose, and then you're going to hold it at the top and then exhale it through your mouth. So we're going to breathe in through the nose, deep breath in, keep taking little sips of air till, down into your stomach, hold it at the top, and then sigh it out. Just sigh it out. All right, we're going to do 2 more of those. So take a deep breath in through your nose, as much air as you can through your nose, hold it at the top, and then sigh it out. Let it go. Audibly feel that air coming out through the back of your mouth. And now 1 more deep breath in through your nose. Take as much air as you can into your belly. Deep breath in through the air, in through the nose and deep into your belly. Take little sips of air till you can't take any more, and then sigh it out. Let it all go. Let all that stuff go. All right. Now just return to your normal breath for a moment. Feel the air coming in and going out. All right. Now that we're fully present here now, we're ready to get going. So now we're going to work on aligning your habits with your big goals and your true self. So if you've struggled to stay consistent, it's not that you're falling short in life. You just may have been trying to force a version of success that wasn't aligned with who you truly are. Today, we're going to reset that and we're going to rebuild from your true self. So, what we're going to cover today is first, why most goals fail. Second, how to set the right ones. Third, how to build supportive habits, habits that help support you in achieving your goals. And lastly, how to get back up when life throws you off your routine, or how to stay on track when something happens, like, a traumatic event, or, like you said, Jana, surgery or something comes up where you're off your routine and you're having to heal or recover. Um, so Napoleon Hill said, desire is the starting point of all achievement, not a hope, not a wish, but a keen, pulsating desire which transcends everything. So you're here today, which means that you have some desire. So if you have a desire to make this your best year ever and move past all that has held you back from living in complete happiness and bliss, then we're going to turn that desire into action. We're not just going to talk about it. We're going to give you real concrete action and the tools that can mold that burning desire for love, happiness, and success into real action you can take today to live the life of your dreams. And we're going to do this by aligning your dreams with your habits. So we're going to go from your vision to aligning your dreams with your habits. So how do I know this works? I'm not just teaching something I haven't done, because I've done it over the last 7 years. It took me a ton of trial and error and learning to get to a point where my big goals and daily habits are aligned so that I can live the life of my dreams every day. And with 5 kids ranging from 4 to almost 17 and running 2 businesses, I have to be focused and disciplined to ensure that we can all live happily and have productive lives. So I decided 7 years ago that I wanted to figure out why I wasn't achieving what I had hoped to achieve at that point, why I was looking in the mirror with disappointment and not seeing the joyful and successful person that I had hoped to be at that point in my life. I'm going to save you years worth of learning and mistakes to become who you're meant to be, to live the life of your dreams now. So if that sounds good, don't worry, this isn't hard. It just requires a system that works for you. So first, we're going to discuss, as I mentioned before, we're going to discuss why goals fail. At the beginning of this year, we held an inspiring 8-week course called Thrive in 25 to kick off the year right by implementing big goals. And at the beginning of this course in early January, I shared with the entrepreneurs, professionals, and parents joining then, I shared a statistic that we found in our research. That is, less than 9% of adults achieve one New Year's goal or resolution, meaning 91% of adults who set goals reach 0 of them. And this is the people who actually set goals. There's tons of people who don't set any goals, but of people that set goals, only 9% of them actually reach them. Some of the common reason goals don't stick are fourfold. First, an unclear vision. You set some big goal, but it's not a clear vision of where you're trying to get to. Second, external pressure, which is a lot of times distraction. Things pulling us from achieving our goals or getting locked in on achieving our goals because we get distracted from them. Next is an unrealistic pace. I'm going to share with you an example I have of setting unrealistic pace for a big goal, but in a time frame that's not possible to get to that goal. Next is a lack of alignment, which is perhaps the most important. We're going to discuss a lot today, and that is your goals are not aligned with your true self. So it's a goal that sounds good, but you may not be chasing it for the right reasons. It may not be your true self. Robert Brault said, "We're kept from our goal not by obstacles, but by a clear path to a lesser goal. We're always taking detours and getting off the highway to our dreams, not because it's too hard or too far, but because we're distracted by what's right in front of us." The folks here were trying to get to the summit of the mountain, but they were distracted by a sign that said, "Great view over there." So they headed over there and they're looking at the view, as opposed to these folks that stayed focused, They weren't distracted. They stayed focused, and they weren't distracted by those obstacles or that kept them, or sorry, not the obstacles. They weren't distracted by the lesser goals, meaning the sign that says great view. You know, things like news and social media. Do those get you to your goal faster? No, but it does fill your brain with negative inputs of others. Waste your time and takes your mind off what matters most. It's that clear path to a lesser goal. Our addictions to the phone, alcohol, drugs, and the negative news stream keep us distracted from our goals. The distractions take us from what matters most, from our dreams and from our loved ones. There's a famous French inventor and mathematician. I think it's Blaise Pascal. Yeah, there it is. Said, distraction is the only thing that consoles us from our miseries, and yet it is itself the greatest of our miseries. In other words, our distraction is the greatest of our miseries. We all have certain vices and bad habits that we want to overcome. We may not even recognize the dependence as a problem, but it still may take us from our natural state. And when we're taken from our natural state, we don't operate at our best. When you operate at your best, you put good stuff in your body and you keep your mind positive. So even if you're not distracted by all the modern distractions in life, many of us are kept from our real goals by that clear path to a lesser goal, meaning a friend or a coworker asks you to help out. A smaller task or goal comes up that it's easily achievable, so we jump right into it, leaving our big goals and dreams behind. And that small hit of helping out makes us feel accomplishment, but it delayed your real goal. Your true self knows this, and your inner voice calls to you. You may experience some success, but it's not real success that your true self requires of you. So, misaligned goals, meaning goals that aren't aligned with your true self, create confusion, anxiety, and burnout. That's why many seemingly successful people are not happy. They may be achieving professional and work success, but they're only accomplishing like small daily tasks. So inside they're unhappy because they're not aligning their daily habits with their big goals. And we're going to work on that today. But when you're not aligning your daily habits with your big goals, it creates confusion and leads to burnout. So you go one way when your true self knows that you need to go another way. And that creates anxiety and confusion. But clarity brings confidence, and confidence is contagious. So we talked earlier about, having an unclear vision. But when you're clear, it builds your confidence, and your confidence is contagious to yourself and to others. So, another reason the goals fail is because they're not clear. So, and that clear goal is also not aligned with your true self. Gandhi said, we shut our ears to that still small voice inside us. But when you listen, meaning listening to your inner voice, you know what to do. You just have to trust yourself. Listening, truly listening to our inner voice propels us into our future with clarity. We all have a small voice within us that speaks to us about wanting an amazing life and nudges us to our personal and professional dreams and clamors for love and happiness. And I want you to give a megaphone to that small voice within. This is your true self and your higher power directing you where to go. And when you listen to your inner voice, you are aligned and living on purpose. When you're clear on your goals and they're aligned with your true self, you can live the life of your dreams. This alignment brings excitement and confidence to you every day as you move towards your goals. So that's some of the reason that goals fail. Now, I want you to think of a goal. We're going to do a little journaling activity before we head into aligning your goals with your true self. Before that, though, I want you to journal, and I'll give you, maybe 3 minutes to do this. Think of a goal you set in the past but didn't reach. And what do you think really got in the way? Think of a goal you set in the past but didn't reach. And what do you think really got in the way? And we'll give you a few minutes to do that. And then, as I said, feel free to share. Excuse me. So, just take a few minutes right now. Think of a goal you set in the past but didn't reach. And what do you think really got in the way? All right. Let's just take a couple seconds here. Go ahead, Jan.
Yeah. This is crazy, I know, but many years ago, and when I was working in New York City, I guess it was 2009 or 10 or something. Yeah, I was at one of those things with the publishers, and one of the largest agencies in New York, Trident, there was an 82-year-old agent, and he rejected everybody's novel but mine. And he gave me his card and said, email me. That's exactly what we're looking for. And I never emailed that man because I
Ah,
think I was afraid of success and rejection. That's the only thing I can think of. It makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever.
yeah. Yeah, I mean we were just I did a video earlier this week or last week about self-sabotage. Um, a lot of times people as they get, to a certain level, they self-sabotage. In that instance, you were ready, it was presented to you and you were right there
But
ready
who
to take
gets
it.
and who gets that? I mean, there was a room full of people. I waited until this guy was finished with everyone. And honestly, I didn't expect him to say, that's what we're looking for. And he politely rejected everyone but me. And I think back to that moment. Of course, he was 82, so he's dead now. But I mean, had he been younger, okay. But it's like, I could just kick myself when I think about what is my problem? Why do I do that to myself?
Yeah. Well, I mean, recognizing that that happened was the first thing, and then forgiving yourself and
I,
moving on. You can't kick yourself now. You can only control the future, you can't control the past. So um it's a wonderful, I appreciate you for sharing that. I think we can all probably think of some missed opportunities that, yeah, we know that we should have done something, but we're fearful of success or failure. You may have been, fearful of, it not working out, or expecting. A lot of times people think that, oh, I don't deserve this. Like, I'm not deserving
maybe
of
that, yeah,
the
right.
success that I'm about to have. And so, they'll self-sabotage when things are going well. So thank you for sharing that. Um, Shelley included their clear foundation. Um, with a question mark. But yeah, I mean, that's, a clear foundation. If that was a goal, to sort of have a clear foundation for where you want to head and where you want to build from, um, that certainly, can be a goal that you didn't reach. Um, not sure what may have gotten in the way, but yeah, thank you for sharing that. And yeah, if you want to share anything else on that, feel free. Anyone else? All right. Well, I'll share, um, on, a goal that I set in the past but didn't reach. And this was a really painful one that I then had to, you know, deal with the consequences of for a while afterwards. And that was, we were starting this company. I mean, there are other examples I can give, but for years I've done clean energy projects, like solar energy projects. I started a company 17 years ago called Blue Sky Power that I still run. Um, After I was a lawyer, I started doing that. And it was COVID time and we were taking that, COVID pivot. And, I'll describe it more later, but we started this company and, you know, and maybe it was too early, but it was to take people off grid. So we traditionally did homes, or we traditionally did schools and towns and stuff, or, big solar and clean energy projects. And we were creating a new product to take people off grid at home, meaning with solar and battery storage and generators, so they would never lose power. And, we hired a bunch of people and we set these big, big goals, but it was the unrealistic pace that I talked about. Um, you know, it was the first risk I had taken in 15 years, 14 years, to try something new. Yeah, because I was not pleased with, I was sort of sick of doing the old business that I had done. And it didn't work out. I lost a ton of money in doing that and had to let friends go that I really cared about. We had to fire them, and there was no way to keep making payroll at that point because we had burned through all the cash and we didn't get investor interest. But, it was an unrealistic pace. Hired too many people too quickly, and it just wasn't the right time. Um, but it was that unrealistic pace. I mean, the goal was to get to like tens of thousands of customers within a couple of years. And, that's why it didn't work. So thank you guys for sharing. I mean, if anyone wants to share anything else, by all means, you can put it in the chat. And now we're going to start talking about aligning your goals with your true self. We're going to shift from, what have traditionally been externally imposed goals that you may have put on yourself or other people even put on you to deeply personal, soul led vision for your life. I mean, you're going to build an emotional connection to your true self. So now we're going to talk about setting expansive goals. And I mean, ones that truly excite you. Aligning your goals with your true self ensures that you are set up for success. So you get there through alignment and deliberate practice. Someone had mentioned, I think Shelley mentioned negative thoughts or, consistent positive thoughts. And that comes from deliberate practice. It takes years to do that. I've been working on that for years and now and mainly on consistent positive thoughts, but I've had to train my brain for that. So we're going to do that through alignment and deliberate practice. So, we know it's good to have good habits, but where are they getting you? Are they aligned with your goals, your dreams, and your true self? You need to know where you're headed. So you need to set goals and you need to make them big. We're not going to start by setting small goals. We're going to start by big goals. Where do you want to be in 10 years or 20 years? Don't worry about where you are right now. It doesn't really matter if you're 30 or 50 or 70 or 90. There's no end to what you can accomplish at any age and at any point, but you have to think bigger. And what, I guess I want to know, what is your big inspired goal? What seems outrageous to others, but in your heart is what you need to do? That's your North Star. So that's the direction that you need to head. So we're going to work backwards from 10 years out, down to 3, then to this year, then to this quarter, and then to this month. And then we're going to set daily habits that bring those goals to life. They all link. People don't necessarily think the habits or the things that I do daily are necessarily, going to get you to your big goals, but they're all linked. So I want you to consider whether you're the same person today that you were 10 years ago. I know for me, I look where I was 10 years ago, even my outlook, the way that I do things. Obviously, I'm, grayer and balder today than I was 10 years ago, but apart from the outward appearance, I am just I'm a whole different person than I was 10 years ago. So then the question is, will you be the same today that you were, that are you going to be the same 10 years from now as you are today? And the answer is no. But yet we set goals and plans as though we will be ourselves, but just a little bit older. But it's not the case. You'll be a totally different person in 10 years. There's this concept called perspection, which is the ability to mentally represent and evaluate possible futures. It's a fundamental psychological skill that includes planning and imagining future scenarios. And we're going to do that some today. And when we envision future scenarios, we limit ourselves to what we know now. But yet, there are no limits. And our goal in this workshop is to open our minds to think without limits. So, when I was just 27, I'm going to talk a little bit about sort of how I've arrived at, listening to your inner voice and thinking really big. So I was 27 and it's just about to be the end of my second year in law school. And I'm standing in the kitchen and my left leg feels a little warm. And I look down to see if maybe the dog just peed there, if there's a pipe under there. I never realized, but the ground's hot on my foot. And I touch it with my right hand, but there's nothing there. And I went to bed that night and my left leg starts twitching every couple seconds. And within 2 days, I lost the ability to lift my left foot and was, sliding along and I couldn't walk. And a couple days later, I lose the ability to hold a pen in my right hand and I have no control over my right hand. And I'm limping along and my head is spinning and my body's deteriorating. I've just been elected class president and editor in chief of Law Journal, and I don't know if I'm about to die. Like my body's just slowly collapsing. And it was really painful. And I went to get MRIs, and the MRIs showed that I had lesions on my brain and my spinal cord. And this was the onset of multiple sclerosis. I was relieved though when my dad told me that I'm not going to die right now. He's a doctor, pediatric doctor. And he wasn't there. I was, living somewhere else, but he said, I'm not going to die right now, but it could get worse. And I'm thinking like I was limping along and not able to use my hands, which I kind of need for law school for typing and writing exams. How's this going to get worse? And I was absolutely despondent. I'd been pulling all-nighters on the regular, and my nervous system was telling me to slow the heck down. And the next day, after feeling like that, after I got MRIs, I'm in the neurologist's office awaiting more tests and a spinal tap. And I went into the bathroom out of the lobby and I looked in the mirror, but I didn't see despair that I had been feeling. Instead, I felt hope, and I got this vision, and all of a sudden this inside voice said to me, FDR was in a wheelchair and he did okay. You can do this. And I decided then that I wasn't going to give up. Now, over the next 3 years, like I was planning on just quitting law school and having to, end up being in a wheelchair. But over the next 3 years, when I overdid it as a young lawyer, I had 2 subsequent MS flare-ups where I lost vision in each of my eyes due to lesions of my optic nerves. But our body is miraculous, though, and heals itself when we care for it properly. And so, although I have some residual nerve damage, thank God I've now gone almost 19 years without another flare-up. But the lesson is simple. You have to listen to your inner voice when it tells you to slow down, or it'll do it for you. Just like you have to listen when it tells you to get up and run into your future. And that's what we're talking about today. Now, I wasn't always listening to that still small voice inside anymore, and these are only lessons that I've realized later in life. I was just wandering in circles, hoping for things to get better, as a young lawyer and then as an entrepreneur and a parent. For years, I saw sad eyes looking back at me in the mirror, wondering why I hadn't hit my potential. I knew I wasn't living as my true self. Now, by all outward appearances, it seemed like I was successful, but I didn't feel so inside. So it's the summer of 2018, and I have a complete awakening. I decide I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I decide to work on improving myself and start learning and growing again. I've done intense study on personal growth and aligning our goals with our habits. This 7-year journey has brought me to an extraordinary place and brought me to a place of deep personal alignment with my true self and my personal, professional, and spiritual growth. So once I saw the light in the mirror, it dawned on me. I'm meant to inspire others. That's what my true self is meant to do. That's what that still small voice inside had been telling me for decades. That's why I saw sad eyes looking back at me in the mirror for so many years. Because living as a lawyer and then clean energy entrepreneur isn't living as my true self. I'm not making enough impact every day. Writing books and inspiring you is my true calling. What is your true calling? In the immortal words of Nelson Mandela, who lived fully through struggle and triumph, there is no passion in playing small, in settling for a life that is less than the one you are capable of living. I want you to live the life of your dreams, which you can do today by living as your true self. So how can you do this? First, listen to your inner voice. Second, write down what you hear so that you can set big goals. And third, implement daily habits that help you live as your true self and achieve your goals. Now, we're going to make all this, this recording and the slides and the tools all available. So don't feel like you necessarily have to write all this down, because this is, the recording and all the tools and slides will be available. But you can't live the extraordinary life of your dreams by playing small, by just going through the motions. Don't go through the motions at work. Make your motions work. We are here to set big goals, and to create clear plans to achieve those goals, followed by habits that will make your future come to life. So that's how you're going to thrive in 2025. Be bold and be specific. Business strategist and author of the book, Jim Collins, who wrote the book Good to Great, you might have heard of it. He had a great quote that says, if you have more than 3 priorities, you have none. So we're going to work on setting no more than 3 big goals. Everyone is so scattered nowadays trying to do everything well that we're giving everything only our partial attention. And technology has enabled that type of confusion where we're constantly being pulled in different directions. So if you want to thrive in 25 and achieve big goals, you have to limit your focus and say no to a lot more. So I'm going to share my system for setting big goals and then aligning them with quarterly and monthly goals. We can help you refine your goals and then set daily habits that will make realizing your goals inevitable. So here's what I'm going to walk you through. And again, don't feel like you have to write this all down. We're going to share the slides and the recording. But first, I envision my future, and we're going to walk you through this exercise you can do for yourself in just a minute. I envision my future by meeting myself in 10 years, meaning I do a meditation where I meet myself, visualize meeting myself in 10 years. I also write a letter from my future self to my current self to see what all I've accomplished. And I then envision myself in 3 years, meaning on my way to that big, bold future that I had envisioned. And then I set 3-year goals based on that vision. And at the beginning of each year, I set my big goals for the year that align with the 3-year goals. So I have a long-term vision for myself, and then a shorter-term vision. I set 3-year goals based on that vision. I then set annual goals that match up with those 3-year goals. Then I list quarterly goals that I can do in the next 90 days that'll get me closer to my annual goals. And then I list the monthly goals that'll help me achieve those quarterly goals. And I update that each month. And this is true alignment. And this is how you bring goals to life. And I post them at my desk and also at the mirror in my bathroom and at work. So I have them there and can see them. So we're going to share our goals worksheet. So we have a worksheet called the True Goals Worksheet that lets you work through those. And we're going to share it when you get the recap and the slides from today. So you want to make your goals big and simple. And there it is, the True Goals Worksheet. That walks you through this methodology. And I'm going to walk you through the guided visualization in just a second. So you want to make your goals big and simple. You want to take away all the nonsense that wastes your day. Those things that aren't focused on helping you achieve your big goals. You want to get rid of the distractions and focus in on your goals. You want to get ready to climb higher than you ever have because it is your time to thrive. Now, I want to take you through that visualization. So this is going to be an exercise we do for a few minutes. And I'll probably give you, about 5 minutes or longer to do this. So I want you to close your eyes like we did earlier. You don't have to do it yet, but when we're ready, you're going to want to close your eyes. And I want you to imagine that if today on the other side of this Zoom, you meet yourself from 10 years in the future, you want to envision yourself 10 years from now. What do you notice about them? What are they wearing? How do they carry themselves? How do they appear? How do they spend their days? What have they accomplished? You might want to ask some specific questions, or maybe you want to ask what wisdom they have to share with you. You want to envision your future self, yourself 10 years from now. You want to go and meet them. Go to your happy place or your power place. What's up there, Positive Pete? Welcome. Walking you through a guided visualization now for meeting your future selves for 10 years from now. So you want to go to your power place or your happy place, that place where you feel the most yourself, most alive. Maybe it's somewhere you've been on vacation. Maybe it's just your backyard. Maybe it's somewhere that you've never been. You want to visualize your power place, your happy place. Go there. And when you get there, you meet your true self. Yourself 10 years from now is waiting for you there. Remember, notice how you appear, how you carry, what you've accomplished, what you've achieved 10 years from now. Ask questions. What wisdom do you have to share with yourself? Go meet your future self 10 years from now. So close your eyes, not if you're driving though. And you want to visualize meeting yourself 10 years from now. So it may give you about 5 minutes, maybe a little bit longer to do that. Okay. So close your eyes, take some of those clearing breaths, follow your natural breath, go to your positive power place, and waiting for you there is yourself 10 years from now. They have wisdom to share with you. You'll see what you've accomplished, how you appear, how you carry yourself. Remember, you're not the same person you were 10 years ago. You're not going to be the same person 10 years from now. Who is that person 10 years from now? Go meet them. All right, just take about another 30 seconds or so, and then we'll journal a little bit about it. 30 seconds. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed meeting your future self. That's your true self. I mean, that's the person that you hope to be and that you want to be and that you actually are, because that is your true self. Now, I encourage you to do more than just, that exercise for 5 minutes today. I really encourage you to do that for, 15 minutes to 30 minutes and truly take the time to meet your future self and then to journal about it. But, I'm introducing you to the concept today. And then, I really encourage you to do this on your own as well. But now I want to give you a journal prompt. I hope you enjoyed meeting your future self. And I really hope you'll take time to do that more fully. But now I want you to take about, maybe another 2 to 3 minutes and write down, what did your future self show you? You know, Meaning, describe that person. How did they carry themselves? What wisdom did they share with you? How did they appear? Did they dress any differently? Did they look any differently? That is your true self. That's who you are and who you truly want to be. So, what did your future self show you? What have they accomplished? And then I want you to set 3 goals that align with your future self, 3 goals that align with the person you just met. What are 3 goals that you could accomplish? And it doesn't have to be in any specific period of time. Maybe, three goals that you could set over the next 3 years that get you closer to being that person that you envisioned. So I'll give you about, maybe 2 to 3 minutes to journal that. Take a couple minutes to journal about what your future self showed you. What wisdom did they share with you? Who is that person? And then set 3 goals that align with your future self. And you can refine this later, so it doesn't have to be, something you commit to today. Just what are 3 goals that align with your future self? I'll give you about 3 minutes for that. Okay, about 30 more seconds. All right, welcome back. We're going to start heading into habits. Just a minute. Was there anything anyone wanted to share? Either or the questions or feedback on that process. Like I said, I want you to take some time and do this more extensively. Take 15 to 30 minutes to meditate and truly spend time with your future self through that visualization. And then, you know, journal the wisdom that you're able to gain from that, how you envision your future self, you know, again, their appearance, how they carry themselves, what they've accomplished, what they've achieved over the next 10 years or so. Um, I did answer your question, Shelley, about it being a form of manifestation, and it is a form of manifestation. But we go beyond manifestation, and we're going to start getting into aligning your habits with your goals, and then creating action you can take each day. So, um, yes, you know you have to manifest things into your life by creating that vision and then bringing it to life. But we bring it to life through the true self system by creating habits and clear goals and actions you can take that get you to make those dreams a reality. So we're not just leaving it to, you know, chance or hope or prayer to get there, although we certainly incorporate all of those. Um, so I hope that that helps. Any other questions or feedback you want, or anyone want to share their experience? All right. Well, that version of you that you just met, who's confident and calm and clear, although it's, 10 years from now, it's not that far away. But it does live on the other side of clarity and aligned habits. And the truth is, you don't think your way into becoming your future self. You experience your way into it. That's exactly why your habits are so important. They're how you make sure you're living as your true self each and every day. Becoming your true self and living your life on purpose can take years or even decades. And sadly, most people never even get there. Aligned habits shape your identity over time, which is why we create uh, this 8 week Thrive in 25 course. And we're going to start a new one probably at the beginning of the year where it's an immersive experience where each week you're immersed in a supportive and growth focused environment, allowing you to become your true self. And you'll be living as your true self in just 2 months instead of taking a lifetime to do it. And we're going to talk now about building those habits that reinforce your true self. So now we're going to turn your vision of your true self into repeatable grounded action so that your habits which are your daily practice of becoming your true self. So now we're getting into habits. When I began the regular practice of meditating and journaling 7 years ago, it felt difficult and awkward at first. And I don't know why it felt awkward, but maybe I was just nervous my wife or kids would walk in and see this goofy guy sitting there in the lotus position, eyes closed, meditating. But, I stuck with it and it became habitual and soon became heartfelt and a part of my daily action, my daily life. And now I do it pretty much every day. Habits, both good and bad, are hard to break. And heaven knows I've had my bad habits like, smoking or using weed and staying up too late. But it's a lot easier to break bad habits when you have good habits and positive reinforcement to break them. In the words of Aristotle, we are who we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. By retraining your brain to live a more positive, productive, and happy life, you're able to more easily able to achieve your goals. So even if you've done the same negative routine for decades, your brain can be reprogrammed through deliberate practice. Again, that Aristotle quote is we are what we repeatedly do. Our excellence our we are excellence then is not an act, but a habit. If you want to see and do things differently, then you got to set new habits and do them repeatedly. It doesn't just happen overnight. But with practice, you can retrain your brain for love, happiness, and success. Positive habits are the key to making your dreams and your goals real. So, to get to a routine of positive habits, it's worthwhile to track your habits. So, there's a saying you can't improve what you don't measure. You want to measure, I think Peter Drucker said that. But you want to measure and track that which you want to improve. You track your habits to make them come to life. So that's where we're talking about, Shelley. This isn't just manifestation. We're going to work on, manifesting or making it real by creating habits that help us to become our true selves. So you don't want to just wait for your future to happen. You want to start being that person today, being the person you're meant to be. And in order to do so, it helps to measure and track your progress in to getting to that true self that you envision. So it doesn't have to be profound or difficult. You want to make it simple. The habitually inspired habit tracker that we created is simply a way of tracking up to 10 daily habits. So, this is just an example of mine from June, I think, or actually August, rather. The chart's broken out by week. You just write the habits that you want to work on, practice, or regularly improve that will help you hit your personal, professional, and spiritual goals. Those things that improve your mind, your body, and your spirit. Maybe you want to track progress on a work goal or a fitness goal. I lost over 30 pounds from tracking my intermittent fasting for a year and a half. For now, let's just focus on what you want to improve and start tracking it. Try to make those habits that will help you achieve your big three goals. So if you see at the bottom as well, there's also space for your big three goals, meaning your long term goals, your annual goals, your quarterly goals, and your monthly goals. So the habit tracker is a great way to do this. And we're going to share this with you. So this is going to be emailed to you when you get the recap of the course. So you're going to be able to do this. And we also send these out each month to the folks on our mailing list as well. So it's a great way to track it, either on paper or even digitally. You're doing it in PDF or on your phone or computer. But I do want to reiterate something, which is a part of daily habits. And that is, remember though, if you do it on your phone or computer, don't use your phone or computer for the first hour you're awake, except to turn off an alarm or play some positive music or listen to a book while you work out or meditate, because you might get stuck on whatever app or program you're using to track your habits. And then you switch to checking, social media or text or email. Orienting your day properly for the first hour you're awake is absolutely essential to living a life of joy. Don't check email, text, social media, or communicate with anyone other than yourself for the first hour you're awake. Now, I don't track this, but it's worth tracking if you find the phone addiction taking you from setting your intention for the day. You really want to create space for that first hour of the day to be sacred time to connect with yourself. And that's why I have on there, um, my first habit is sleep by 10 to wake by 5. I have to get up at 5 so that I have that hour and a half from 5 to 6:30 before anyone else is up, so that I can focus on meditating and journaling and, even working on a top priority. I've got to be able to create that space. So it's really important that you only communicate with yourself for the first hour you're awake, if at all possible. And those are some of the practices that are in our epic daily ritual that we'll email to you. But I've been tracking my habits now for over 5 years. Again, we are what we repeatedly do. I've become this person I envisioned 5 years ago because I started doing those things every day that my future self would do. So here are the habits that I'm currently tracking, and this changes some, month to month or quarter to quarter. Sleep by 10, wake by 5, meditate, journal, 1 hour of flow on top priority. I've actually now switched that to 90 minutes of flow on my top priority to make sure I'm allocating time to just accomplishing one big task a day. Read spiritual book, read Tao Te Ching, 30, 60 minutes of quality content, meaning whether that's videos or news articles or YouTube video of someone who inspires you. I say quality content. I should probably change this to positive content. You know, don't consume garbage. Don't, there's a great quote that is your input determines your outlook determines your output, and your output determines your future. Don't put negative things into your mind. Only consume positive content. Don't just mindlessly scroll. Go to YouTube and select positive content from someone who inspires you. Maybe someone who has achieved what you want to achieve. Only consume positive content. All right, next I have on there exercise or yoga, and then PM journal. And journaling, the evening journaling is a great one. That's in the Epic Daily Routine ritual as well that you'll receive, an email. But that is at night before you go to sleep. Again, no phone for the last hour before you go to sleep. No TV, no screens. Just you want to journal your big three, your wins for the day, how you want to show up the next day, and your big three priorities for the next day. I then go the next step. I text those to my accountability partner. I know I said no phone, but I do text my big three priorities for the next day to my accountability partner, and that's the only phone usage I have for the last hour of the day. So these habits change a little bit quarter to quarter based on what I'm working on or trying to improve. But many of these habits have been the same for the last 5 years. For example, I used to wake up and meditate, but last year when I was working on my first book, The Light in the Mirror, I added write from 5:30 to 7, and I moved meditate and journal down to later in the day. And I did that as my first activity of the day when there are no disruptions and my brain is in the right state. That habit helped me hit the goal of writing my book in 6 months because I did it every day and I tracked it. I made that commitment to myself and I hit my goal. Now, is this list perfect? No. I don't necessarily get to every single habit uh, done every single day. Sadly, it's not perfect, but life gets in the way. I have 5 kids. I'm running 2 businesses. Like life gets in the way. I can't always get to it all. And I miss one or two or more of the habits. But on the days when I'm at my best, I hit them all. And those days become more and more frequent the longer I track my habits. And I make time for them. And I make sure I do these like my life depended on it because my future self does depend on it. I can't reach my goals. I can't become my true self that I've envisioned if I'm not doing these habits. So as I go along, I have more days at my best and I hit them all more often. Again, that quote, that which is being measured is actually improving. But you want to track what works best for you. Start small. Look at your goals that you're setting. See what you need to do to hit those goals, to become your true self, and make those areas your daily habit. What is the person you dream of being, your true self? What does that person do each day? You journaled about the vision of yourself in 10 years or your goals in 3 years. What does your future self do each day that you aren't doing now? Pick those things and be that person by practicing each day, and you'll quickly become that person. My life is improving each day because I'm tracking that which matters most to me, and I'm holding myself accountable by tracking it. I'm living as my true self. 4 years ago, I envisioned my future self. I wrote a letter to myself from my future self. I then took those actions that my future self took. I started dressing like that person I had envisioned. It was me, but it was different. It was the me I had always wanted to become. And I started just transforming into that person I wanted to become instead of just hoping it would happen. I started tracking the habits that my future self would do, and I did them. And I started to become that person. Now, did I reach him fully? No, not yet. But my vision of my future self continues to grow, and new habits evolve as I continue to grow into that person. So, who do you want to become? And also, not only who do you want to become, but are you fired up to become that person? Are you ready to implement the habits to become that person? to do the things that person does. Great quote by Jim Rohn, who said, motivation is what gets you started. Habit is what keeps you going. We're here to thrive this year, to set big goals. But this year, we're going to accomplish those goals. We're not going to be in that 91% of people who don't accomplish their goals, because we're going to put habits in place that make achieving those goals inevitable. So now I want you to take a few minutes to do some live habit mapping. I want you to take those goals that you set when you talked about your true self. You set 3 big goals. What are 5 to 10 habits that will help you become your future self? Call it in 3 years. Just go 3 years out. What are 5 to 10 habits that you could do? And it doesn't necessarily have to be every day. It may be 3 times a week or 4 or 5 times a week. But what are habits you can put in place and do daily or regularly that will help you become your future self? And let's just call it yourself in 3 years. Okay. I'm going to give you 3. It seems like we like threes. Let's go with about 3 minutes to work on 5 to 10 habits that'll help you become your future self. And remember, this is an exercise to start now, but you should go back after today's workshop and continue to work on and refine these habits. And we're going to give you that habit tracker, a blank habit tracker. We're going to email that to you so that you can fill your habits in. Okay. All right. Take 3 minutes to work on your habits. Oh, all right. All right. Now, happy to entertain any questions you may have. And anyone have any questions on habit mapping or aligning your habits with your true self? Or you also, you can also put in the chat any of the habits you want to work on. But like I said, we're also going to make that habit tracker available to you as well. So you're going to be able to do that on that sheet, and then we'll start sending those out. You'll get them every month, new habit trackers to do each month. So next I want to talk about, we've gone from envisioning our true self, setting goals that align with your true self, and then implementing habits that'll help making achieving those goals inevitable. But now we want to talk about overcoming setbacks and building resilience so that nothing can stop you. We want to reinforce the safety in the ascent to becoming your true self and the long-term commitment to your success, because things are always going to come up that may knock you off track, and you want to be able to get back on track more quickly and not be dissuaded. We've talked about, some of the self-sabotage or goals, that we started out with that, we may not have hit, and why, we got sidetracked from those. So when you set aligned goals and build the habits to match, you're not just chasing results, you're becoming someone new. I mentioned earlier that my wife ruptured her Achilles when Jan mentioned her knee surgery. And it was Memorial Day weekend. And um, we were at a kids' party and we were dancing. And my wife, it's like, ow, that hurt. Feels like I got hit in the leg with a hockey stick. And she like limped over and helped her sit down at the table. And she had ruptured her Achilles. Now, no joke. She was dancing to the Kesha and Pitbull song Timber, which, I'm sure you've no, it's going down. It'll be a night, you won't remember. Well, we remember that night. Uh, and also no joke. She was dancing with our friend who's an orthopedic surgeon, um, who, immediately sort of felt, and he was like, yeah, it's a complete Achilles rupture. So, um, it certainly is a night that we will remember for a long time. And it ended up being a really difficult time. Um, I had to, care for not only her, but I had to care for our five kids. So I was working all hours trying to care for everyone. And it was just like a total struggle trying to care for everyone. And, um, I remember this one of the days. So not only was she was basically bedridden for almost 2 months, between surgery and the recovery from surgery and not be able to walk. So, I mean, went from totally immobile to like, helping her in the wheelchair to the bathroom, to then, you know, I was up all night. Like all my goals for, for that month, for June, and the summer were all shot. My habits were way off. And I was trying to stay focused, but like I couldn't even work. I was caring for her and the kids. One day I went to drop my kids off at school, and my my 4 year old, I guess then she hadn't turned 4 yet. She was 3, and I had forgotten her shoes. And I let the other kids out. She and I run to Target and come back with her shoes. I'm like, I got to take you in to sign you in. She didn't understand why I couldn't just drop her at the drop off line. I'm like, because I forgot your shoes and we're late. And she said, so Daddy, I forgot my shoes too. And it absolutely melted me. And, I was supposed to be on an 8:30 call. I ended up having to reschedule as well. And I'm all in a frenzy, I pull back up at school. And, it's those moments that you realize like, we always get through these difficult situations. And no joke, I then forgot my other daughter's shoes when I dropped her off at day camp a couple weeks later. My wife's like, "How do you guys keep forgetting the shoes?" I'm like, "I don't know." Um, so anyway, I mean, look, stuff always comes up, but when you take a risk and you listen to your inner voice and you pursue a path, it's not about whether you get to the end goal. There will always be twists and turns. It's not about the destination, but about who you become in the process. When you set big, audacious goals, even if you fall short, you end up much further ahead than you were before. So, tracking your habits isn't a test. You're not competing against others. You're keeping tracks so that you can improve. And some weeks aren't going to be as strong as others. But yet, in my case, some months aren't going to be as strong as others. Like I could barely work during that period of time. But if you want to live in bliss, then keep on tracking and keep improving. You aren't always going to feel this balance that you get when you track you align your goals with your vision for your life and your habits with your goals. Either busy life takes you from your healthy habits like sleep, meditation, journaling, exercise, or something happens that gets in your mind, those ants I mentioned earlier, the annoying negative thoughts. Those negative recurring thoughts take over again. It's not always perfect. But the more you work at it and trust your true self as your guide, the more you stick to your healthy habits and come back to your true self, no matter how busy you are and what negativity impacts your life. You're never too busy or distracted to take 2 seconds to look yourself in the mirror, lock eyes with yourself, and say, I love you. You're never too tired to put your hand on your heart and say, I love you as you drift off to settled sleep. You've got to keep going, even when you don't feel it. In fact, when you don't feel it is the perfect time to reset. When your computer isn't working right, you reboot, right? When you get that dreaded spinning wheel of death and, your computer's totally frozen and you're fearful you're going to lose what you're working on. But it's stuck, so you have to press reboot or Control Alt Delete to force a restart. And when things aren't going well and you're off your game, you have to reboot yourself. Go back, look at your habit tracker, and begin again. This is your reboot. This brings you back to your true self. This brings you back to accelerating towards your big goals. And once you see the light that it brings you of being truly aligned with your true self and having goals that make hitting your goals inevitable, once you head down this path, you can't unsee it. You can't unsee the light in the mirror and all around you. Even when you have bad days, those days get shorter and less frequent. You can change the trajectory more quickly. Your habits keep you going and help you get back to who you're meant to be. When a challenge, a tragedy, or even just a bad day knocks you off track, get back to tracking your habits and find that alignment with yourself again. Now, we're going to proceed to close in just a couple minutes here. But, as you can tell, we like to do journal prompts. So we have a journal prompt for you, and that is, what's one small action that you will take in the next 24 hours to move towards your true self? What's one small action you will take in the next 24 hours to move towards your true self? And we'll just give you, maybe a minute, minute and a half to consider that. And feel free to share that in the chat if you'd like. All right. Now, anyone want to share? Be honest with myself. Yes, Shelley. You know, that's a big part of being your true self, being honest with yourself. But, you know, make sure it's honest that's positive honesty. You know, yes, we need to deal with things from the past or things that we don't like about ourselves, but it's really honest about how wonderful and beautiful and special you are and how amazing your true self is. And that honesty allows you to set a clear vision for who you want to be and make habits that are going to align with your true self. Chad, take a look at my goals and evaluate if they're clear and aligned. Yep, I mean, they got to be aligned uh, with your true self, but then make those habits like we've been talking today, those habits align with your goals. And, you know, I want to make a point too about, you know, the habits. Don't feel like those habits need to um, be specific to the goals. The habits you want to put in place help you to become your true self, the person who achieves those goals. So it may not be that the habits have to be things you do each day to hit those goals. It may things be things that you do each day to become the type of person that hits those goals. Happy, healthy, confident, that person is the person that can hit those goals. And you want to be that true self. So I appreciate all the sharing everyone has done today and honesty, Shelley, you know, with yourself and with us. Um, you know, that level of honesty allows us to identify with our true self and then set those habits and those goals that help us live as that person. But now it's time to put on your spacesuit and climb into the shuttle on the launch pad to skyrocket into space. Staring at the stars is inspiring, but it won't make you an astronaut. It's time to launch. A lot of preparation goes into launching a spaceship to blast off into the celestial hemisphere. But the voyage only begins with the decision to climb aboard and soar to your destination. And the same goes for us. It's painful not being who you know you're meant to be. It's painful wishing you could be that person that you see in your mind, and it seems like it's either impossible or is taking forever to get there. But it doesn't have to be painful. These are choices, and this is your life to choose. You can either continue to go through the motions or live the life that you are meant to live. You can stay in the harbor and stare at the sea, or you can cross the ocean. You can stare at the stars, or you can launch yourself into space. The point is, you could stay in that same painful job or create the career you want. You can stare at the phone, or you can play with your kids. You can stay up late working, or you can stay up watching TV, or you can get up early and meditate. You can busy yourself on social media or email, or you can make real progress on your goal. Block long blocks of time, maybe an hour, 90 minutes, just to accomplish your big goal each day. You can be miserable in that relationship that you know you've outgrown, or you can find true love with the person that brings out the best in you. You can sing the song you're meant to sing, or you can keep it bottled inside. These are all choices. Some of these are tough choices, but they're all yours and yours alone to make. I love this quote by Elizabeth Appel about becoming who you're meant to be. She said, "And the day came when the risk to remain tight in a bud was more painful than the risk it took to blossom." Your life is only created by you, and we all create our own reality by our mindset and the choices we make. You can choose to live the life of happiness and bliss that you want to live by deciding to do so. But staying tight in your bud is far more painful than the risk it will take for you to blossom. At any stage in life, this holds true. It's never too late to be who you are meant to be. Be honest with yourself. Are you living the life you're meant to live? Are you achieving the one thing that inspires you the most? If not, it's time to blossom. It's time to live life inspired. Remember that Mandela quote from earlier in this workshop. There is no passion in playing small, in settling for a life that is less than the one you are capable of living. You're capable of living an extraordinary life. Make it big. Do not play small. Do not settle. You know what you're capable of. You just got to get it out of your head, down on paper, and then take action every morning to get you closer to who you're capable of being. That's why we went through getting it out of your head of your true self, getting your goals down on paper, and then creating the habits every day to get you there. But it can't be small. You won't take any action if you have a small goal because it doesn't matter that much. Most people spend their days accomplishing small tasks and going through a bunch of little actions instead of taking big actions for significant blocks of time to get to seemingly impossible goals. The digital world and fast paced modern life have trained us to feel busy, but not very productive. All that busyness keeps us from designing a bold vision for our lives and then planning out the journey and the small habits that get us there. As Les Brown put it, most people fail in life not because they aim too high and miss, but because they aim too low and hit. Don't aim for those low targets accomplished by menial tasks. Aim high in life and work. You're meant to live an extraordinary life. If you invest in yourself and you start what was recommended here today, you will find true freedom and happiness. So you can make excuses or you can awake with intention. Look in the mirror, say, I love you, and then implement the steps prescribed today to return to your true self and be the person you're meant to be. Do not wait until that still small voice is suppressed to a faint whisper and you don't hear it anymore. You know what you need to do. If you pause for a minute to listen, to truly listen, you will hear your higher power and your inner voice calling you to be the force for great good in this world you are meant to be. Listen to it, write it down, and then every day do what's necessary to get you closer to being that brilliant light you were meant to be. See the light in the mirror each day and watch it glow and grow. Life is to be lived and lived out loud. Life is to be enjoyed with enthusiasm. Love is to be shared and spread far and wide. The journey isn't always smooth, and roadblocks always pop up unexpectedly. But the tools provided today help make the journey smoother and get you around the roadblocks even faster. Those who love you will be there for you. I love you and will be there with you on your journey. I'm always happy to help guide you up the mountain as you climb to meet your true self. As your feet hit the floor tomorrow morning, simply say to yourself, it's going to be an amazing day. I do this every day. As soon as my feet hit the floor, or at least on the way to the bathroom, I remember it and I say, it's going to be an amazing day. I walk into the bathroom, you step in front of that mirror, lock eyes with yourself, and say, I love you. And then go spread that light out into the world. The world needs your light to shine brightly now more than ever. As you awake with intention, your goals set, and your habits aligned, put down the phone, turn off the negative news, and just listen to your still small voice inside. Listen to yourself and your higher power, and then write down what you hear, and don't wait. Turn what you wrote down into action you can take today to live the life of your dreams, to be the person you're meant to be, to live your life of love, happiness, and bliss. Now, what you learned today is a solid foundation for living as your true self. I think someone mentioned a clear or solid foundation earlier. I think you did, Shelley. And truly living in alignment takes practice and consistency. At the end of the year, we're going to host another Thrive in 25 8-week course, which is designed to fast track your journey to your true self through weekly lessons, group coaching, and a supportive community. So if you're open to it, we're going to send all the links with all the recaps and everything after this. So you're going to get a recap email and the resources. So we're going to email you the habit tracker worksheet, the habitually inspired habit tracker, the true goals worksheet, and also the epic daily routine checklist that we had referenced as well. So you're going to get those. you've already met your true self and you're ready to align with who you're meant to be. So by all means, there's a little bit of homework. Um, yeah, I want you to do that exercise. So take at least 15 minutes or longer to imagine meeting yourself 10 years in the future. I know we did it for a few minutes, but sit with that some more. How do you look? How do you carry yourself? What have you accomplished? What wisdom do you have to share with yourself? That is your true self. That's who you're meant to be. And then, I will stay on if you have any questions or want to ask anything. And, by all means, follow us on social media. Apart from what we just shared in this short time, hour and a half or so we've had together, I also regularly post, information to help you align with your true self and to inspire you to be the person you're meant to be. And I answer questions. We answer the most Googled questions that people ask. So there's always new content up there. So by all means, check out our social media on, Instagram or TikTok, um, as well as our YouTube channel and LinkedIn too. But anyway, happy to stay on for any questions anyone might have. And also, I don't know if it's up there, but I will put it in here. I'm going to put my email in here. It's the email that you got the calendar invite to. Yeah, it's right there. You can always email me at ben@benparvey.com. Happy to help you work through, some of the goal setting and the habit tracking, etc. And any feedback too. If you found things helpful, if you'd like more of anything, feel free to, shoot any feedback. If it was a total waste of your time, tell me that too. We're working on honesty and our true selves, right? All right. So I'm going to stay on for a minute. That concludes the workshop. But if you have any questions, I'm happy to stay on if anyone, has any questions or feedback. And if not, thank you all so much for joining today. Remember, I love you and I'm here with you on your journey. If you need me for anything, by all means, reach out. And keep an eye out for the email. You'll get the recap email later today or early tomorrow. All right. Bye, all.